you can see, we did our last one in April, and this is our June 2020 Blunion. Go ahead. So we've already gotten over what the purpose is, but it is an effort to increase communication and transparency, as well as gather questions and input. We'll also be going through goals, updates, and next steps.
Yeah, so essentially this is just to make sure that like everybody in Bluebonnet knows what's going on with the organization and has their chance to kind of like contribute to the discussions that are happening.
So by the numbers, we have currently 159 active fellows across high school, college, graduate, professional. We also have 45 active campaigns as of today. And you can see all of the states listed there. And then if you go to the next one, you'll actually see a map of where all of our states are. So the dark blue pixelated states are our current states, and then the ones in light blue are states that we've done campaigns in before but don't have any in there currently. So that total number is 18 states.
But by land area, it looks like we're doing pretty well, close to 50%, not counting Alaska.
I still...
Yeah, I was gonna say, we need the biggest state.
That should be a KPI, is just land area achieved.
I still want us to get the Alaska campaign that we're looking at. I also would love for us to get Hawaii at some point.
So I reached out to, were you talking about the congressional campaign in Alaska?
Yeah.
I texted Malcolm and I emailed him, and it's just been absolute radio silence.
I guess we'll just have to go to Alaska. There's no other way. So we've had a pretty substantial increase in campaigns, even just in the past few weeks. So you can see that in May, we actually only had 20 campaigns, and now we have 45. So we've more than doubled our number of campaigns. Our goal that we originally made in 2019 was to work with 100 campaigns this cycle. If you count the campaigns that we've already worked with this year, but they either didn't make it past the primary or they fell apart for some reason, we're almost halfway to our goal, actually, we're about at 50 once you count those, but 45 current active. And then another great statistic is that right now we have 64% of our campaigns are either female or minority candidates, and that number is very much on the rise. To kind of talk about that a little bit more, we actually have done mass outreach across states where we just reach out to every single Democratic candidate. And we found that actually white male candidates disproportionately responded to us when we did mass outreach. So in order to make sure that we were helping women and minority candidates, we actually started targeting our outreach very specifically to only reach out to them. And then we're still getting across the board like more and more candidates from all backgrounds. And we're always open to more candidates. So if you know of any candidates or you're interested in any candidates, please join our candidate search channel, where we are very actively tracking who we're talking to and what's the message that we're giving as an organization.
And then do we want to comment quickly on like why we've seen such a spike in June?
I think a lot of it is because of the candidate search effort. So a lot of fellows, thank you to everybody who's worked on this. A lot of fellows joined candidate search calls, and we would just take massive lists of campaigns that we are interested in. Usually like Nathan pulled that list together, or Connor pulled together a list another time. And then everybody would split up that list and reach out to all of the candidates. So we've seen a lot of participation on that side. So thank you to everyone. The other thing that's interesting is we're kind of in like the golden period of campaigns picking up. So a lot of campaigns are finishing, like making it past primaries now. And so there's one general election Democratic candidate. And then also we're kind of before the very wild period of time that we'll get closer and closer to in the fall. So this summer is a perfect time to like pick up more candidates. Paul, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
No, I think that about covers it. But essentially, this is a big focus for us over the next month, like into sort of the middle of July or so, is to hit these recruitment numbers hard. So as you can see, the 100 campaign goal, we want to get there, like not before the end of the election, but before the end of July, if possible. And like Becca said, this is the golden sort of time, the golden window for getting in touch with a lot of these campaigns of the size that we're working with. And, you know, hitting this number is going to be critical. And it's kind of like eyes on the prize for the next month. Get these numbers, and we'll talk about fellow numbers in a minute. Get these numbers, really like reach our goals. And then for the last few months of the cycle, make sure that we are executing on all of those campaigns across the board. And here is the by the numbers on the fellows. So counting up our current active fellows, we had just barely over 50 in January, and have been kind of exponentially growing throughout the year. In June alone, to this point, we've brought on 59 new fellows, and that is only going to increase. We've gotten well over 100 applications in the first 2 weeks of June, and we're expecting a lot more. And the same thing goes here. We're trying to get at least 300 fellows on board for this campaign cycle, which kind of translates from the number of campaigns as well, because if we have an average team size of 3 or so and 100 campaigns, we would need to have at least 300 fellows. So that's kind of how that math works there. And same deal goes on the recruitment goals here. We're trying to reach these numbers before the end of July, to sort of get all those campaign staff. And then from July through the end of the election, ideally, we're going to be focusing on like sort of supporting teams and processes as we just execute on helping these campaigns.
Mari and Emily, do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I think a month ago now, we had our first diversity and inclusion call, and some of the few things that came out of that were we're starting to collect better metrics on how Bluebonnet is doing in terms of its diversity inclusion, the target audience and people we're outreaching to recruit for fellowships. And so the thing that was sent out recently was a diversity inclusion survey, so that we can start collecting those kind of metrics and start understanding our organization as a whole. And part of that is also developing a better understanding of how we can embed diversity and inclusion. So it's not really an overhead process, but it's like a natural part of, you know, everything that Bluebonnet is thinking about. So we definitely welcome a lot more people to join that channel, the diversity inclusion channel in Slack, and be a part of that conversation and discussion. Any thoughts you might have around the topic, please share it there. Please message me, Anmar, anyone on the Bluebonnet team. But if you have ideas, and we've gotten some great feedback through the survey responses too, of internal support, external outreach, we would love to hear them. And definitely remember to submit your survey response soon. The deadline for us for now is June 30th, end of June.
June 30th. Everybody make sure you submit one survey response to the diversity and inclusion survey.
And that survey should be in all of your inboxes, even if it was marked as promotional, but we will also be resending it tomorrow.
Yeah, and I know one thing we've requested is to try to get at least one person from each team here. So the people who are on this call, please be the representative to make sure that everybody else on your team also has filled out this survey.
Also, we might be talking about it in the next slide, but we've been working as a team. We've been trying to bring in more creating more partnerships. Here we go with other organizations, but also other universities, especially HBCUs and organizations and clubs at PWIs that serve and work with data scientists, computer scientists who come from minority backgrounds. And we're working on forging more and more partnerships and relationships. So we'll keep you updated with that as we continue that process.
Yeah, so in terms of partnerships, that is really growing out in a lot of ways. So we have kind of a smattering here of relationships that we're building. I don't know if they're like such formal partnerships, but we're definitely forming a relationship with Climate Cabinet, which Paul can talk about a little bit more. Climate Cabinet, Fridays for Future, and All Hands. I'll mention Emerge is an organization that helps women candidates run for office, and they focus state by state, and they especially work in legislative races. So we're working with Emerge in Alabama. Similarly, there's another organization called Lillian's List that we're working with in North Carolina. DigiDems is kind of a brother-sister organization in terms of they staff technical people on campaigns in a full-time capacity. So actually a couple of Bluebonnet Fellows are officially going to be DigiDems this year and go full-time into working with a campaign or with a state party. So congratulations to them. It's an awesome opportunity, and we're always happy to kind of help you along that route of becoming a DigiDem. Or some DigiDems are actually, when they scale back their time commitment to a campaign after they finished a cycle, they're becoming Bluebonnet Fellows. And then the last one is Rewrite the Code. So that is a women-focused STEM organization, and we just recently did a webinar with them, and many of our new fellows coming in are from Rewrite the Code. So welcome, and we're really excited about that relationship.
Yes, to fill out the information on some of these, Climate Cabinet is an organization that's trying to get sort of policy information and talking points regarding climate policy and climate law to small candidates, so state legislature candidates. They're basically going state by state and making sure that all these candidates have the information they need to talk intelligently about climate and to kind of know the facts around their districts on climate. We're working with them on a database project to try to better assemble some and share some data that we are both collecting on both sides. Fridays for Future is a nonprofit that does climate awareness through a lot of social media campaigns. Many of you probably know who Greta Thunberg is, but she started this organization. And we are actually going to be putting a team together for them to help them out with some data analysis on their social media efforts. And we're looking at putting more partnerships together with organizations rather than campaigns strictly, for a number of reasons. Campaigns, political campaigns, are definitely a core part of our mission. But unfortunately, non-US citizens cannot be on a campaign team in Bluebonnet for a variety of reasons, but mainly, or actually for one reason. They are prevented under US election regulation from contributing to the decision-making process in a political campaign. But we get lots of applications from non-citizens, and partnerships with mission-aligned organizations like this is a way to help them get involved with Bluebonnet teams in another facet. And additionally, I think there's a lot of room for us to be really helpful for organizations like this. We're talking with some other organizations as well to see if we can get some teams together. And then lastly, All Hands is an organization that helps find careers. It's basically like a job board or a career board for people interested in working in progressive tech specifically. So they have jobs and internships in campaign tech, in other areas of progressive tech. If you're interested in them, I suggest you definitely head over to their website and throw your resume on there. But I think a big part of our evolution after we hit our sort of recruitment numbers going, over the next month or so, is to make sure that we're building out these relationships with our eyes on the next cycle and the next cohorts of Bluebonnet volunteers that are going to come in. And career development, sort of in relation to all hands, as I mentioned, is going to be a big part of that. We want to make sure that we're getting people's resumes out there for those of you who are interested in working in progressive tech, that we're supporting you in terms of updating your resumes, updating your LinkedIn, helping you find connections in the progressive tech space for anybody who wants to stay there. We already have had plenty of Bluebonnet alums go on to do great things in political tech and progressive tech, and we want to make sure that we're supporting more and more of you to do the same thing.
So it's a little bit of both. So I don't know if everyone can see it, but there was a question about if the relationships are informal or if there have been conversations about formal relationships or formal partnerships. It's a mix of both. So it's an interesting thing, like with the organizations, if you want to officially say like this group is a partner on my website, like there's a lot of negotiation that needs to be done there, and like we just haven't entered into that with anybody. But the reason why we say relationships is because with all of these organizations, we're talking to their leaders, and we're setting up like very direct lines of communication and direct pipelines so that our fellows can benefit from their resources, and that we can be plugged into their organizations as well. So it's definitely more on the informal side, but still very strong. So this is our new brand. Y'all might have noticed that on our website and on our social media, we got a new flower. You'll still see the old flower in different places. It pops up, but this is our new pixelated flower, and we had a wonderful graphic designer, Greg Coleman. We shout him out on our Instagram if anybody is interested in checking out his work or getting their own brand done. But we think that the pixels definitely demonstrate the nature of Bluebonnet and people coming together to form a bigger picture. And we think it's beautiful and love it. And you should check it out on our social media. Also follow our social media. That's our new look. It's definitely more up to date. Before we were just kind of taking, the flower was a really great thing that former Bluebonnet volunteers had made. But the colors and things like that were just kind of random and pulled together because we never focused on that as opposed to like our overall mission. But this we think communicates who we are as an organization, as a brighter and kind of happier organization, a lot better.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get on this. There we go. General updates.
Yeah, this is just a general space for updates. So Paul, can you go back to it? Yeah. So if anybody wants to give a general update, I don't know if anybody else from the leadership team, this is also a good time for questions. If anybody wants to ask questions, we'll kind of go back to that after next steps as well. But does anybody have any general updates they want to give?
No, all good.
Doesn't look like it.
There's not, like, I want to drive home the extent to which we're focusing on like recruitment numbers. Like, there's not much to update on, and other than the fact that we're like nose to the grindstone on a lot of these, just getting our, going and trying to influence the 2020 election as much as possible.
Building on that, I would also say that a lot of other great ideas and initiatives have been brought up over the past few months, and we want to return to them, especially when it comes to like webinars and career resources and things like that. But as we're so focused on kind of finishing out those numbers in June and July, that's going to be our priority for the next month and a half. But then once August, September, November comes around, like our priority is going to be supporting you as fellows, and then also supporting you with those resources, whether it be career resources or just general education and connection between teams. So I think that is an important note. The other just like quick update on the website, on the fellows page, there's a list of all of the colleges that people have gotten degrees from. If you don't see your college in there, just Slack me the name of the college and I'll add it. If we don't have any other general updates, we can move on.
Okay, doke.
So next step, spread the word. One of the things that we've been talking about is telling the Bluebonnet story more, like talking about our experience and really getting it out there. I mean, it's helpful for bringing in new fellows. It's helpful for bringing in new campaigns, and just like organizationally, if we're going to continue to grow over the next few years, like this isn't just a November 2020 organization. This is a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year organization of making an impact in the democratic space. So please, like, if you can post about Bluebonnet on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, we would love for you to do that. And we will go through and retweet and follow and like do whatever we can to kind of boost it as well. Please fill out the survey, the diversity inclusion survey. We will be sending it out again tomorrow, but it should be in your inbox. And then lastly, keep making an impact. You guys have been doing a wonderful job. Y'all might know from our briefings that I check in with all of our campaigns, and they're all enamored with you as their teams. I hear glowing reviews all the time of just the effort that you're putting in and the work that you're producing, and also just the relationships that you're building with them. So thank you for everything that you've put into it so far. And we have a couple more months until November. I have a really good feeling about this election, and I think we can make a big impact. Paul, any closing words?
Yeah, I noticed that when the Bluebonnet logo is kind of zoomed in like that, it does that optical illusion thing where it has like the little gray dots at the intersection between the squares. I don't know if anybody else sees that. But that's something I wanted to say. And then additionally, I want to say that Becca had great words about the upcoming election. One thing that I've kind of noticed, like the more I've talked to people in the Democratic space and the more I experience people's confusion when we try to explain what we do, is that we're kind of inventing a new kind of volunteering in Democratic politics. And you are all helping to invent that new kind of volunteering. And it's working. And it's like our model is like proving itself out every day, which is so cool to see. And I think this year, like 2020, is like the proving grounds for Bluebonnet. Like what we do right now is going to be the basis for everything that we do in the next cycle. It's the first year where I think we're like really gaining sort of a mass of attention that we haven't seen before from across the United States. Like people have heard about us at this point. And I think that's only going to continue to happen and continue to be the case as we approach the election. So good work, everybody.
Any questions before we wrap up the call? Oh, yeah. Nathan just sent the LinkedIn group. This was also in the big email that we just sent, but we made a LinkedIn group for fellows and alumni so you can continue to stay involved even after your campaign. Please join.
Yeah, please join. And one thing, I mean, we'll cover this in the next State of the Blunion as well. I think like this one, we're talking a little bit about this like recruitment stretch and then also a little bit of a glimpse of what's afterwards. On the next State of the Blunion 2 months from now, I think we're going to be full on talking about like how to really like handle the last stretch of the election and also like bring in sort of an alumni community, which you are all going to be part of, and make a really strong and impactful and long lasting alumni community as well. So you can look forward to that conversation down the road.
Yeah. I did want to ask, we've had some campaigns that we're talking to ask for some samples of what other teams are working on. So, Beck, I don't know, and Paul, how we should handle this, but if you and your teammates have something that you are particularly proud of a deliverable that you've given your campaign, we would love to put together like a sample, of deliverables that we can share with campaigns that we're talking to. So please, share that with one of us, all of us. I don't know. Paul, Becca, what do you think?
Yeah, please.
Send it to Paul.
Yeah, please let me know. I might be checking in with teams during like check-in times about this as well when we do our group check-ins. But I think what we found, Nathan was asking about this yesterday, is that it's kind of hard to track down like specific stuff when somebody asks for it. So we would like to just have like a folder that Nathan and I kind of know where it is and know what's in there that we can just pull stuff from and send to campaigns. So if you'll send stuff to us proactively, that would be amazing. Otherwise, I'll be checking in at the check-ins, see if y'all have stuff like that.
Any questions, you're free to just jump in, or if you want to ask it in the chat. If not, we can wrap up. We always have tons to do. We would love your involvement in the candidate search, in fellow recruitment, in marketing, in diversity inclusion, in projects that we have in project ideas. You are all welcome to be a part of it. This is a people power volunteer run organization. So you all are the mission. So how can we support you? Let us know. Thank you everyone for being here tonight and making time on the Blunion. Thank you for putting up with the name once again of Blunion. Still up for debate. And have a good Thursday. And we'll talk to y'all soon.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming.
Bye.
Bye, Anmar.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Donaldo and Campbell. All right, debrief.